My name is Maxim Salnikov, and I want to introduce some cool services we have on Azure for the web front-end developers. Let's start. Yes. Second. Yeah, if Microsoft's general mission is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, then it's absolutely applicable to what Azure delivers to the web front-end developers. We empower everyone and every team to achieve more with less efforts. And I'll try to show you how that works. I work as a developer engagement lead in Microsoft Norway, and let's stay connected on Twitter, webmax are you. I post mainly about web frontend, about progressive web apps, about all cool things around frontend development. And after all, I'm a web front-end developer myself for more than 20 years, and I'm a big fan of developer communities. Here in Norway, I organize meetups, conferences for web developers, mobile developers, PWA developers. Yeah, and it's my pleasure to participate in events like Cloud Node. And of course, I do lots of technical speaking, blogging, and training. And I have one more side of my personality. I'm not sure if this is a dark one, but it's different. I'm also a hobby DJ and music producer. You may wonder, why do I ever talk about this side of my personality or this technical talk? Yeah, it's very well connected. I'll explain you why. So as a creative DJ, I was looking for one simple tool, real-time BPM or beats per minute counter. When I produce some beats on the fly, I want to have at least rough understanding of the tempo, just to mix this up with the next track. And I couldn't find something similar enough or stable enough or free. After all, I built this tool for myself using web technologies. So it's a purely web front-end driven application. It works in any evergreen browser on any modern platform, and there is no backend to calculate this BPM. It all happens on client side, purely in JavaScript in the browser. I was so happy to have this tool for myself. I even gave it a name. I call this BPM Techno. And this is, technically wise, this is classical progressive web application. You can install this as a native application on a particular operating system, like on all modern operating systems. And it's offline friendly. It works perfectly without any internet connection because it doesn't send the data anywhere. And yeah, I'm super happy to have it on my local host, right? When I do some home producing and mixing. And I started to think, okay, now I have this tool for myself. I'm happy with this. What's next? And I really want to share this tool with global DJ and music producers community, because I'm sure that this will be super useful for many, many people around the world. Plus, I have some simple roadmap in mind what to add, what kind of features, maybe simple user account where you can gather stats on music tempo you played. Just nice to have. At the same time, I still want to focus on what I can and what I love to do, web front-end development. So I need some helpers to achieve all the points from what's next. And I decided I have to look at the cloud offerings. What can I get from the cloud? And I defined some particular requirements, what I, as a web front-end developer, want to get from the cloud service. First, it's all about hosting itself. No doubt, it should be the fastest, it should be super reliable. I don't want to care about possible breakdowns and the slow internet connections. No, it should be the best of the best. Then we reason about global DJ and music producers community, right? So it makes sense to have my application globally distributed, not just on server on particular continent in particular country. Then application itself is a single page application. Maybe later I will add some server-side rendering features, and from the web server side, some special support needed for both, so it should be included. Then, since I gave a name to this application, VPN Techno, I registered custom domain vpntech.no, and I want to attach this name to this hosting place. And of course, these days we have everything under HTTPS, so SSL certificate should be included and should be included for free. Then my next set of requirements, deployment itself. I'm a web frontend developer. I'm not a DevOps engineer. I'm not a system administrator. I want to build my code and I want to push it into the repo. This is all I want to do, to have my application hosted, deployed, globally distributed. Maybe later I will dive deeper into DevOps engineering. I will gather corresponding skills, but not now. Now I want to focus on web front-end development, and I have to have I want to have zero efforts on deployment itself. Last but not least set of the requirements is feature helpers. Yeah, of course, if we talk about like Hello World application, it's unneeded. But since I have some roadmap, some plans to develop my application further, it would be cool to add maybe simple backend. And again, I don't want to care about all underlying infrastructure, neither virtual machines nor application servers. I just want to build the code, and I want to build the code in JavaScript. That means very good support for Node.js functions should be included. And then if we talk about user account, it would be cool to have some support for authentication and authorization. I can implement all these flows myself, but maybe for many scenarios, it's just enough to rely on help of social login providers, and this will be enough. I don't want to organize my own database with the users. I don't want to build my own login form, password reset form, etc., etc. No. I need help from that side also. Plus, this is my hobby project. I'm not going to earn any money on this, and in the best case scenario, I don't want to spend any money on this. Yeah, I just put my spare time, my efforts on building this. This is why my next and must-have requirement was to have some very nice free tier. Enough for at least showcasing my project to the global community while maintaining all these features you have on the screen now. And well, as session title says, I found this service, and I'm proud to be a micro contributor to building this service from the side of architecture and providing feedback. Azure Static Web Apps, batteries included for free. At least there is a free tier. How to start with this service? Well, there are two main options. Actually, there are a few more, but I believe these two are good enough to start with. If you use Visual Studio Code, VS Code, I strongly recommend to install corresponding extension, Azure Static Web Apps plugin, or you can just go this directly on portal.azure.com. And by the way, if you don't have Azure subscription, in the demo repo, I will show this a bit later in my session, you can register your free trial account, and you'll have $200 for usage. And you remember that even after this free trial ends, you still have free tier for Azure Static Web Apps. So in both cases, starting with Azure Static Web Apps will look like pointing either extension or Azure Portal Wizard to the source code repository. We all have our code in GitHub or Azure repos or some other repositories, right? So it's not something exotic, even for web front-end developers, right? Then you provide few points of the configuration. If I remember correctly, only 3 options explaining how your application is constructed. Root folder of your app in the repo. For example, if you use monorepo, it might not be the root one. And build artifact folder. For example, for React, in many cases, this is folder called build. For Angular, this is something like dist/project name. So it's custom for every project. And yeah, you have this knowledge as a project maintainer, of course. So you provide these 2 points, then you count 3, 2, 1, maybe a bit longer if your project is a bit more complex than Hello World and there is some longer build flow. But after all, you'll see your application online on sample host name provided to you by Azure Static Web Apps, like 2 random words, some small hash string, Azure Static apps.net, something like this. So you will get this domain name immediately for free. Okay, now we have the application, and I will have demo of all these things for you, so stay tuned. Next, how to deploy the next version of your application. Now you have your application globally distributed. You added new feature or you fixed bug or 2. What will it take from you to have updated version of your application on this global Azure infrastructure? Point number 1, you actually create your new code and push it to your source code repository. And you know what? There is no point number 2. This is all you have to do. And in a few moments, again, depending on the complexity of your build, you will see updated version of your application. Isn't that magic? And as I mentioned, you don't have to have any knowledge about what's happening under the hood. And there are some things happening under the hood, of course, for you. First, after you merge your new code to the main branch of your repo, or the branch you set as the one which is attached to Azure Static Web Apps resource, GitHub is taking control over the flow, and using GitHub Actions, it runs through the workflow which Azure Static Web Apps created for you and pushed to your repo while you were creating this new resource. So in your repo, there will be a new file automatically generated for you. If you wish, you can go into the details of this file. You can learn more how GitHub Actions work, how this workflow format is looking like. But you can postpone this investigation. I mean, it works for you out of the box, and maybe later you want to dive deeper, fine-tune some things, but it's unneeded for the beginning. So as a result of this build flow, which includes also building whole environment on the virtual machine for you, which includes installation of NPM modules, and after all, it includes running of your build command, which is npm run build by default, but you can change it if needed later. After all, Azure receives some static artifacts generated by this build. Well, obviously, this is index HTML, your main JavaScript bundle, your main CSS bundle, something else you have as a part of this build or dist folder, and then it just automatically copies everything over the global Azure infrastructure. And by the way, if instead of GitHub repos and actions, you use Azure repos and Azure pipelines, this is also absolutely possible to set up as a part of Azure Static Web Apps. Next, how to develop things locally. We have one more helper. First, this is optional. You can survive and perform basic actions without these steps, but I strongly recommend to install Azure Static Web Apps command line interface, CLI, because it will help you to emulate, to mimic, to reproduce what happens in the cloud with your application. Of course, the main advantage of this is when you want to build and debug and test everything related to backend part of your static web application and the authentication part. So these things are, well, impossible to debug locally without reproducing how that works on the cloud. And Azure Static Web Apps CLI is helping you with achieving this. So you just install it, and my recommendation to install it globally, to have SWA command available. This command takes a few parameters to align with your build flow for the particular project, for the particular framework. For example, for React application created by CRI, Create React App utility, this will look something like this. After running this command, we'll have fully fledged offline local environment where we run the application, both application itself, all infrastructure related to API endpoints, and all mocks related to authentication and authorization. It's pure pleasure to develop. It's a very good developer experience. What's left? I think it's demo time. We'll return for the slide by the very end of this session, but now let me do some demo of the project I just introduced. Okay, let me start with the code editor. We'll just stop there very briefly, just to emphasize a couple of important things. How GitHub Actions understand how to build your project exactly? Well, not a secret that majority of our web frontend projects have a script called build. So after recreating all the needed environment, it just runs npm run build. If you have something very custom as this command, you can always fine tune this. Where in the GitHub Actions workflow file. So this file will be created for you automatically in .github/workflows when you create this static web apps resource, when you connect this resource with your GitHub repo. So don't be surprised to see this new file there. And this is exact explanation for GitHub Actions, what to do and when to react on this project. So you see there are a few parameters. Now you see this file completely untouched, so it's as it was created automatically. But if you want to provide, for example, custom build tool, there is a parameter for you to do this. You can edit this file, you push this file, and you have a new configuration ready. Now let me show you the project itself. This is hosted on bpmtech.no. You can try it yourself. So if you do some music production or DJing, maybe it will be also useful for you. And just to demo how that works, let me click this button, start listening, and I have, and you see it starts to show some spectrum analyzer. I have a YouTube video. I created some music for test, and I will turn this on now, and we'll check that beats are measured. Volume up. Yes. So the correct BPM was 120. Now it tries to measure BPM of my speech, which is nonsense, of course. And also I added one simple API endpoint to provide feedback. Okay, so let's say this was correct. Thank you very much. This is source code of the application. Of course, it's open, and please feel free to explore how that works, how it analyzes, and how progressive web apps features are added, how it works offline, and how you can install this. And this is how it looks. It's here on Azure portal. So this is a static web apps resource called BPM counter, and here you can see that I attached my custom domain. It's fully free, and also here is the domain name which I got for free when I created this resource. It happened, of course, before I attached my my real host name. There are tons of demonstration features you'll find in this demo. So this is step-by-step guidance on pretty much all core features of static web apps, both deployment, authentication, functions. Since we don't have too much time left, let me introduce one feature which is super convenient for the development process, which is staging environments. Just imagine, I want to introduce some new feature in my application, and I'm not sure if I will be happy with this feature or not. So I want to first run all end-to-end tests on this, and then maybe I want to show this to a couple of friends of mine to gather their opinions, and I don't want to have it on my main address, of course, right? So what do I do? What do I do as a web frontend developer? I create a branch, right? So not something exotic, not a secret at all. I create a branch. I build this new code with this new feature, and I push the branch to my source code repository, and I create pull request, right? And on this moment, Azure Static Web Apps, together with GitHub Actions, of course, create completely separate environment for me. So you see, in my repo, I have a couple of demo pull requests, and if we look here, the one called new feature, after I created pull requests, GitHub Actions ran this workflow we've just seen for myself and created new environment. You see, this is new address with some extra counter in its name, and on this location I decided to try black background. Maybe I'm not super happy with how that looks, and maybe this pull request will never be approved. But still, I see all these extra environments in Azure portal named as I named pull request. So new feature, and also I have second experiment with caching web app manifest. What happens if I approve this pull request? I believe I will soon approve this one. Azure Static Web Apps swaps this environment with main one. I mean, what was staging environment becomes main. And after I approve pull request, in a few moments, we will see this branch as main one here on our main address. It's super convenient, it's super fast, and it just it adds zero extra effort for me as a web front-end developer. And of course, if I'm brave enough to push straight to the main branch, Azure Static Web App also supports me here. Right after I did the git push to main branch, the flow starts, and in a few moments I see new version hosted on my main address. Yeah, this is pretty much all I wanted to showcase for today. I will share the address where you can find a super quick link where you can find this repo, because it contains many more interesting scenarios to test, to go through. Maybe you want to do it yourself. But now let me return to the final set of slides I have. Actually, this is about how to continue learning about Azure Static Web Apps. First, we have awesome resource called Microsoft Learn, which is a set of step-by-step guides how to implement this or that feature of your application using Azure Static Web Apps. Then we have official documentation, which contains all detailed information about every single module, every single method you have as a part of Azure Static Web Apps. And please feel free to check my demo, fork it, clone it, break it, share it, do whatever you want. This is open source, and I'll be happy to get pull requests from your side, issues, and all feedback, aka ms/swa demo. You'll find everything there. And of course, let's stay connected. Please find me on LinkedIn, find me on Twitter. It's my pleasure to share all I know about web platform and Azure with you folks. That's it. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Perfect. Thank you, Maxim. So we got just 2 minutes for questions, if you want. Just maybe, do you know the cost of that kind of feature on Azure? Is it?
The cost is available on Azure website for you. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go into the details. This is like a sort of table. If you use that amount, you pay that. But what I want to say, for your hobby project, I'm 99% sure that you will fit into free tier, so you will pay nothing.
Okay. So you have something to test or just to try that. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I see. Ok. Est-ce qu'on a d'autres questions dans le chat? I'm asking for questions if we got that. So, nope. It should be okay. And great. So that was very good. Very cool. And thank you very much, Maxim. Let's just connect on Twitter and maybe see you later. And then thank you. And I'll stop the recording and have a great day, and see you next time.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.